Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's video, we're going to be creating this particular hotel reservation dashboard. So as you can see over here, we have this particular flipping cards where we can actually click on it and have the cards flipped, and we can unflip this by clicking over here and have it unflipped. So if you want to flip up the cards at the same time, you can click over this particular part where it says flips cards, and here we go. Unflip it, you click on it, right? Look at what happens if I flip the cards now. So now these cards here can respond to whatever filter we click on right from here. So let us go to February and see what we have. In February, we have this turn green because it has conditional formatting. So if we go over here, clear the filter now, you can see what we have here. Let us go ahead and look at this particular month of April and see what we have. The month of April changes. May as well will change the value here, and this is something very, very dynamic. Can you see this now? So if we go over here and hover over this now, it's going to give us a tooltip that shows us the revenue realized and as well how much revenue we have lost based on online booking. And we can do that over here as well. So we can actually click on either of those particular bars to filter the whole dashboard. Can you see how beautiful this is, right? So if we come over here now, you can hover over here to actually look at what is going on in this particular location. So any of the locations you want to see more details right on, you hover over it. Right now we're on Russia. We can see how much we've lost and how much we have made in Russia. This is how beautiful this particular dashboard could look. So if you want to actually follow me step by step, all you have to do is to get the data downloaded, and actually let's do it. All right, if you have downloaded the resources files, so go ahead and open up the PDF. There you're going to see this particular one right inside it. So once you have it open, the most important part of it is this particular part right here. So make sure you read through this thoroughly to understand what exactly you need to actually show on your dashboard and the kind of insight you need to actually get from the data. Let us look at the steps we need to take to create a dynamic and interactive dashboard inside Microsoft Power BI. The very first thing we need to do is to understand the data set. Make sure you open up the data and go through it column by column to understand it. And if it has data dictionary, that will definitely help you to understand every single columns, which you're going to actually receive as well inside the resources file you have downloaded. So the next thing again is the sketching part of your dashboard. Make sure you sketch a dashboard either on paper, PowerPoint, or any other programs you know how to use to draw. This will definitely make your life a lot easier when it comes to writing docs, creating visuals, and doing your dashboard layout. Okay, next over here is loading the data to Power Query, and we have to make sure we append the data or the tables together and clean, transform, then we push into Power BI environment. So you can now create a calendar table inside Power BI, or you can do that inside Power Query. It's all your choice. So I'm going to show you how to do that using Microsoft Power BI. So once we are done, we have to create relationships between our tables. And next again, we have to make sure we write docs that will actually help us bring insight from the data. And after this, we're going to create some couple of visuals for our dashboard. Once we are done, we need to create a background that's going to bring out this particular, clean dashboard out. And once we are done again, it is time for we to format our dashboard on the background that we have. So let us look at the rough, layouts or the rough sketch I have for my dashboard. So what we're going to do right now is to have a header. We're going to have some couple of KPIs, and we're going to have a giant, card right here that shows the map, which is the location of our customers based on the revenue we have generated from those locations. So this is exactly what we have inside the PDF you have read through about the dashboard requirements. And next again is going to be the revenue and the revenue lost based on booking method. And finally, we're going to look at the payment method based on how much revenue we generated and how much revenue we have lost. So this is what you should do to make your life so easy. And if you look at this right now and cast your mind back to the introductory part of this particular class, you would see that this particular layout is what we maintained all through. So let's get into Power BI desktop. Now, let's get data. Those are the common ways you can actually get data inside Microsoft Power BI. In case you can't actually get the sources you want to actually use to get your data from here, just click on this particular link. It will actually take you to where you have all the sources you can connect to using Microsoft Power BI. So in my own case, I'm going to use this particular import from Excel workbook. So over here, you're going to have this particular 2023 and 2024 data. So the very first thing you need to do is to make sure you get in either of them first. Let's go with this one. Click on open. Just go ahead and actually, check this and click on transform data. So we have gotten this particular data right in here. The next thing we have to do right now is to get in the second one. We don't have to go to Power BI to do that. We just have to stay within Power Query to have it done. Go ahead and click on new source, then click on Excel workbook. Now we're getting for 2024. This one again. We have those two tables here. We're not going to be working on those particular two tables. And what I'm going to do now is to actually go over to where it says append queries. Under append queries, I would love to use this particular append query as new. So with this right now, I can choose my second table, which is this particular one right here. So once done, the next thing I'm going to do is to click on OK. Now we have a new table that combines these particular two tables together for us. So what we need to do quickly before we actually do any other thing is to right click and go ahead and actually enable load. We don't actually want those particular two tables to be loaded into the Power BI report view. So just go ahead and actually, make sure you actually uncheck it. Once you're done now, the next thing you need to do is to actually rename this particular table to whatever you like. So I can just name it to data set. So just give it a name you like. All right, we don't have this. It is time for we to get out things we don't want. So we don't want to keep this particular guest ID right here. I can just go ahead and actually have it removed. So it has been removed for me. Then you check and see if those are actually, on the right data types. So over here, this ought to have been on country, but unfortunately we don't have it here. It has to be inside Power BI. The contact phone here, we have to remove it. And the reservation ID here, we don't need to keep it as well. So if you look at this particular column right now, in case you can't find this particular little analytics we have at the top here, go over to view, and under column quality, you can see you just have to check it and to give it the quality of this particular column. So if you look at this right now, it's actually giving me, 56 empty, right? And 43, valid, and error is 0. So what can you do to this particular one? Nothing. Just leave it the way it is. So let me show you why it happened. If we scroll to this particular end, let's go over to, somewhere around here. So if you look at this right now, this is cancellation status. So those are the place where the record of people who cancel their reservation is actually recorded in. So when it is no, it means that that particular person did not cancel. If it is here, that means the customer actually canceled, his or her reservation. Then there will be no date recorded for the check-in and the checkout. But if we come straight up to this particular path where we have the booking date right in here, the person would have a particular booking date right here before cancellation. You get it right now? So if the person did not check in, there will be no record for how many guests were actually lodged, but the person must have actually paid when the person actually booked. Then special request, no, it will be blank right here. And over here, amenities used, I think is no as well. So we will take care of this later in case we need to actually make sure we do something right on where we have some kind of blanks right in. But for the time being, we're going to leave it this way. So we have almost clean data. There is nothing here that is wrong with our data. So all I need to do right now is to make sure this one here, I make it to be some kind of whole number. So we change this one to a whole number. So we look around to actually make sure we match the data type to the right one. So once we are satiated, the next thing we have to do right now, this one should be on the whole number. So I will be calculating this one on my own. I don't really believe on this one here, but for the time being, I can leave it this way. So we're going to be calculating the lead time in this on our own later after all. So what else do we need to do? We can actually get this data into Power BI. So click over Home and let's go ahead and click on Close and Apply. If you look at it right now, we already have this particular table right in here. So those other ones will disallowed from loading into this particular path is not loaded in here. We just have one single table with all the columns in it. All right. So quickly before we start creating our KPI, the way we have seen it inside, the slide, let us quickly add a new table. And this table should be our calendar table. And it's a very simple, table we're going to be creating right here. So let's go over to table view here. And from here, we can, let's do this. So we can click over new table. So inside here now, I just actually pasted in a particular DAX code here. So which I'm just going to change this particular part, for right now. So all you have to do is if you want to actually have access to this code is to go to your download file and you're going to see it right there. So all I need to do right now is to actually make sure I change this particular one here and I do booking date, and over here I do booking date as well. So booking date here, and just go ahead and hit my enter key. This will create a full calendar, for me. In case you want to take a look at how we got this created from the scratch, you just have to join my course and to teach you everything you need to know about this particular kind of calendar and why I have this particular path right here. So there is a reason to this, and the reason is very simple. Let me take you over to my main data. So this particular data part right here, if you look at it, we have check-in date and checkout date. So I want my date column or date table to only look at this, to be pointed to this particular part right here. That was why if you come over here right now, we actually just say, okay, we want the mean and the max, year coming from the booking date. And that will actually help us to filter our calendar auto to get the actual numbers of years. If I click over here right now, so we now have the actual numbers of years of data that we actually have, which is from 2022 to 2024 right in here. It's so simple. So it goes beyond this. Just check out my course and see what you can actually learn when it comes to creating a date table. So now we have this. The next thing now is to click over here. So let us go ahead and see what we have. So we have a calendar and we have our data right here. Very simple model. So if I click on this particular date, have this one hidden, then we have to look for the booking date, which is this particular one right here, and drag it onto this one, which will give us many to one relationship. Can you see it now? Then if I cancel again and actually connect from here to the booking date, it will give us one to many relationship. It depends on where you actually, doing that from, right? So just go ahead and click on save. So the connection has been done, for us 100%. So let's quickly go over here right now. So the next thing we have to take a look at is if we go to our calendar table right now and go over to the short month here. So as you can see, this is not actually from January to December. So our month starts from April, and this is awkward. Let's go ahead and click over table view. So inside here, let us look for this particular short month here. So once you actually highlight the column, the next thing you have to do is to go over to, I think it's going to be under sort by column here and sort by month number. So look out for month number. This is the month number, and this is the column for month number. So not only for this one, if you're going to be using the week, the long form or the shorter format, so you just have to make sure you actually sort as well. So we sort by the week number right here, which is this particular one. Very important. Okay, the next thing we have to do right now is to make sure we go over to table tools here and go ahead and mark as date table. Just go ahead and turn this on. Click over here and choose date. Then you just click on save. 100%. So this is correct. So now, if we come back over here now, you can now see this some kind of start from January and it ends at December right here. Okay, I'm going to turn this one into a filter for the time being. So now we have a filter right here for the month. Now it is time for we to start building our KPI. So the very first thing I'm going to do is to actually come over here and pick up this particular new card from here. So we have a new card inserted for us. So we can fit this back later, but for now, we just want to make it very, same, okay? So before I build anything called DAX, the very first thing I need to do is to make sure I actually, create a table where my DAX will be saved in. It's very simple and easy. Just go ahead and click on enter data. There are several ways to do this, but this is just one of the simplest way. So we can actually go ahead and do DAX room, whatever you want to name it, then click on load. Okay, you must have seen on the slide what we really want to show on our KPI, but before we actually go into writing any DAX right now, we need to understand our data in detail. So we go over to this particular table view. Now we have to go and click on the data part or data set part. So if you come over here now, you can now see we have a column that actually holds the total amount generated for every single persons that actually some kind of book with us. So aside this one, if we scroll to this particular end right now, we now have this particular column called extra service cost, right? Which is 0 now. If I actually click on the drop down here, we now have some numbers right here, $1, $2, and all of that. So you can just scroll down and see different variation of values we have right in here, up to $500. Depends on what the person is actually, requesting for. So amenities used, this is what the person is paying for. This is 0 here because this person did not actually, ask for anything. So if we now just go ahead and filter by people who ask for laundry service when they actually lodge in the hotel, click on OK right now. You can see it depends on what they actually, use that for. Some persons actually got it for free. I don't know what happened. So this is free service. Depends on the kind of apartment. So now you can see the amount of money, paid for the laundry service as well. So this is what we need to understand before we start calculating for our gross revenue. Now we're going to be calculating for gross revenue, and next again we're going to be calculating for the net revenue and as well for the lost revenue. This particular column will actually support us to create for the net revenue and the lost revenue right in here. Can you see? So let us quickly go all the way back here. So inside our DAX room, if I just go ahead and right click now and click on new measure, so we can actually go ahead and type in gross revenue. So with my gross revenue right now, there are two ways to get this calculated. Let me show you the first way. The first way is to do the sum function. Inside the sum function, you can actually sum the, amount, total amount here, and you close it, then you add and that sum again. So you add the extra costs with it and hit your enter key. This has actually created the total gross revenue generated, right? So I'm just going to push this one into this particular card like this. So as you can see, this is how much we actually have. So another way to calculate this to make it easy for you to stop repeating the same sum over and over again, what you can do, let me just clear this away from here. I can use my sum x, an iterator function that will ask me for a table, and that table will be my data set right here with a comma. Inside here, what do I want to do under the expression? Under the expression, I want to actually take the total amount here and add up the, extra service cost in it. Once I'm done, I'm just going to go ahead and close and hit my enter key. Let us look at this. Does this particular value change? It doesn't change. It is still remain the same way it is, right? So it still remains the same way it is. So which means this one is more efficient to me, right? You don't have to repeat the sum over and over again to get it done. So now you can just see this is what we call an iterator function. To iterate through this row by row and add up this for you. Can you see this right now? Very interesting. So we are building this particular first KPI first before we actually replicate the same code we have used over here for our net revenue. Okay, net revenue is going to be a different one slightly, but this one should actually come first. So over here now, the next thing we have to calculate is to actually calculate the previous month revenue. For now, we are looking at the holistic revenue we have actually generated as a gross revenue. So if I select February right now, so here we go, we have 19.12 million, right? So you might want to actually go ahead and click over this to format it. So any number formatting of your choice. So once done, you might want to take off the extra decimal you have right on it. So by putting 0 over here, you can see we have lots of numbers. Let us have it reduced. So we have this. So what I want to show on my dashboard is not the summarized number. Instead, I want to make sure I show the unsummarized one. So you have to click on the card. This is card formatting. So let's go over to here now and click over call out value. Then make sure you choose all and select the gross revenue. Once done, scroll down a little bit until you can find this particular auto here and choose none. Now you have this number, right? Okay, let's do something else. So over here now, we're going to look for how much have we made in January, because right now we are showing the February values. So how much did we make in January? That is the previous month. Then we right click over here. And I believe this is something very simple that anyone can do using time intelligence function. So I can name this one last month revenue. So we can just use the calculate function to change the filter context of our gross revenue by using previous month or same period last month, or we can actually use date add. So with the date add, we are looking for date from our calendar table. So with the comma, we offset by 1 month, and that comma again, we just say we don't need day, but just month. So we'll go ahead and close our date add, shift enter, we close our calculate function. So you can see what this does. Very simple and easy. Now we have this. The next thing we need to do right now is to make sure we have it formatted and push it right inside this particular card. That was why we choose the new card. In case you don't know what card we are using right here, let me quickly show you again. So over here, we are using the new card. Can you see? Card that has new on open and close bracket. Okay, let's go quickly over to here. And now, over to this particular part here. Now we open the reference label. We now push this into here, then it gives us something like this. So if this is actually not summarized and it's giving us this particular whole values, we have to make sure this one here as well follow the same thing. And again, this particular gross revenue we have right here, we want to have it removed. There is no point in repeating it over again because we're going to be having it here as our title. So all we just want to use here is actually versus last month. Let's find out what to do. Then we have to come straight up to go down a little bit and over the select label, choose this one here. Then you go down a bit under this particular part, you choose the custom. Then once you choose custom, you just do versus last month. So can you see the value you have right now? Then you scroll down a little bit again. You now get to the value area. Under the value area here, you just need to actually go ahead and select none. Then you have the whole values right here. So for the formatting, don't worry about it. We're going to actually come into that. So what is next right now is for we to make sure if presumably we actually have our slicer hidden, nobody can tell what we are showing here as previous month and as well the current month. This is where we creating our dynamic title actually comes in. You want to see that? So let's come over here and right click and choose new measure. So with the new measure here, I'm just going to name it title. So just for gross revenue. So because I'm going to be creating more of this particular title or the same kind of title, I just have to make sure I separate it from the remaining ones I'm going to create. So over here, we just have to use the variable. This variable is going to make it very simple for we to write our code and reuse it over and over again inside this particular same measure. So I'm going to actually check what is being selected from the month. To do that, we do selected selected months should use selected value function to check the month. We're using a short month. We have the long month and the short month, and we have month number and we have start of month. So go for the short month, then have it closed. So this has actually checked what is being selected from, the month filter. So once we go down now, we type in return over here. On that return, we're going to actually use the if function to actually say if the underscore selected month we just actually brought in is actually not blank, right? If it is not blank, what do you want to see? So beneath here, we're going to say, okay, if it is not blank, we want to actually have, gross revenue. So we close this. I think so. Oh, sorry. If that is the case, we want to actually, this is what we need to do. We don't have to close this. Now, we now put a comma. I'm just trying to see what I can do to get this right. Okay, sorry for that. Let's quickly go ahead and first of all, bring in underscore selected, month, which is the name of the month should come first. And after that, now we have to concatenate this into it. Gross revenue. So we just need to go ahead and close this. So otherwise now, if everything is selected, we want to see multiple month selected. So specifically, if we select like 2 different months, or if none of the months has been selected, that means it's showing the value for every month, right? So we want to have something like this. So once we are done with this now, I can actually go ahead and bring this whole down here to make it proper formatting. Then just go ahead and do this and hit your enter key. This is what you have. So we can now use this for our dynamic title to make it very much more better to read. Okay, so next I click over here, and now we go straight up to the call out value here. We scroll all the way down and we choose label. Yes, so under the text area here, so you can now see whatever I type in here reflect here. So for that, I'm just going to make sure I use the FX here. Then choose this particular darkroom and go for title. Click on OK. So now we just flopped a little bit. Let's go back over here. We need a space here. Then hit your enter key. That is all we need. Okay, let's select this one here. So now it should be very easy for somebody to know what, when we say last month, this person will be able to actually tell that this is February, this is March, and this year is February value. But still, this is not yet completed. What about the month over month, changes and all of that. Very simple. Okay, let's go ahead and right click and create a new measure again. So before we start creating this particular month over month changes over thing, let me quickly show you a website where you can get different kind of arrows and other, code from. So the site here is called vertex42.com. So here you have different arrows that you can actually use. I'm going to be using something like these ones here, these two here specifically. I'm going to be using them to show up and down or negative and positive values. So what I need to do right now is just to go back. So we are right here now. So I'm just going to do month over month change here. So I want to specify gross revenue. So, okay, we put an equal sign here. And over here, the very first thing I need to do is to actually, do var and underscore. Then I'm going to show my arrow up first. So arrow up. So here now I'm going to use this particular function. Then when I use this function, you have to go back to this particular site I just showed you right now and copy this particular number from here. So once you copy this one from here, this one has to do with 1054.8, and the next one is the down one is 1054.9. So let's go ahead and do paste. Then we close and we create another one again. So this one should be arrow down. So this one should now be, let us give a space here to make it clean. So this one should be uni right here. So we now paste this one in and we change this one to 9 to give us the arrow down. Can you see how it is right now? Right, in case you want to see how this would look like, you can always do what we call return. So we return header of it here. So if I return the arrow down here, let us look at the behavior of this. So I'm going to bring this into a separate card. So this is how it looks right here. Can you see it now? This is what you're going to have, right? Okay. So once we are done now, let's go ahead and click back on it again. So what we want to calculate is actually the month over month change. So we take off this particular part. So we store that into a variable. So I'm going to have an error now. Don't worry. I mistakenly hit the enter key. So we'll solve that later. So this variable here should be called month over month change. So we use the divide function here. Inside the divide function, we divide the gross revenue, take the gross revenue, and we subtract the previous or the last month revenue, comma, and lastly, we do the last month revenue again. Can you see it now? So once you are done now, we just go ahead and close this. So we have gotten this created. This will come out as a percentage. So I love to always display my results, one after the other to make sure everything is actually correct before I finally show the last result. So now it's showing us 0.10. So we can just go ahead and actually, convert this to a percentage to see what it is that we have. So we have just 10% right here, which means this is fine, right? So we can check different months. So July, June, now here we go. Let's go back now. What we actually want to show is to show the arrow as part of it. But before we do that, let's quickly do what I call another variable. So clear off this one. I'm going to put another variable here. This variable will help me to format, this as into a text. So I'm going to call this one format. So this format here is going to use format function as well. So underscore this month over month change here, comma, so 0.0%. I have it formatted into a percentage here. So which is okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do right now is to go all the way down here now And actually under this, I'm going to do return, and the return here should be if, then underscore month over month change here is greater than 0. Then what I want from you right now is to make sure you give me the arrow up, right? So which is the arrow up here. Then outside this now, I'm going to concatenate here a plus, which is a positive value or positive percentage. Then after this, under concatenation again, underscore the format one. Then this formatted one now is going to be formatted as either minus or plus, depends on what value you are looking at, and actually make sure it's actually as a percentage. Because if we don't show the formatting part like this one right here, right now, and we include this particular arrow up and down plus this particular plus right here, it will not actually give us the ability to format it using this particular percentage again. So we have to do our own number formatting right from our DAX. So once we are done with this right now, you can put a comma right here. So if the result is false, all I want now is underscore arrow down, and I just go ahead and do ampersand underscore here. So ampersand here. You can always give a space to make it look clean. So underscore month over month, no, format here, right? Space, space. Okay. Then we can go ahead and have this closed and hit our enter key. Let us look at what we now have here. So if you now look at this now, we have the arrow pointing down. Let's just look for different month where we have. Can you see now? This is what we now have, and this is what we're looking for. So how can we make this to look better on this? So we are almost done with our KPI card. So I'm just going to return this back to a filter screen and make sure this is sitting here. So I'm going to make sure I kind of format it rightly. So let's go over to size and style, and over here, let's do 151. That is for the height. For the weight, we do 275. 275 for the weight, like this. I think so. Yeah. Still, let's just make this one to be 27. So you can see it, we now have 151274 for the width right here. So right now, let us concentrate on the value we have inside it. So what formatting should we use for it? So we go for the callout value. Here we go. So we make sure we select the gross revenue, and over here we'll make it 25. That shows everything that we actually have right in here. So once we have done this right now, I want to go over to here now and select this color. So this is not really giving me what I want. I can actually step into here, more colors, and actually select, this. Okay, this is okay. I would love to go with this particular one here. So once done now, the next thing I'm going to do is to actually select the title, which is going down over to here. So we are here now. We can increase this a bit. Gonna go with what size or what font type should we use? So let's change this one to this. Then let's just increase this one to something like 14. So 14 looks quite okay. So if I actually unfilter everything right now, so here we go. We now have something like this, and this is okay. So after we have done this, the next thing we have to do is to click back on it and go over to here. So we go under the value. So now under here now we select the same color we have used to make sure, okay, let's just make it more calm than this one. Let's go with this. Okay, there you go. So we now have something like this. The next thing we have to touch right now is this particular part right here. We have to quickly go over to this particular path. and click on the reference. We scroll all the way down here. So once we are here, we increase this one to 14. So let's come over here and make sure we take off, we convert it to the number formatting, and we take off the extra decimal places we have right in it. So now we have something like this. So let us go ahead and look for a lighter version. Something like this would be cool, light version. So we now go to the value area. So we scroll down to the value area. Under the value area right here, what we need to do is to make sure we increase this one to something like, 14 will be okay. So this 14 now, we are good to go. The next thing we need to add is this over here. So quickly we have to turn off the one, right? So once we have it turned off, we have to make sure we actually reduce the size. So let us go over here and put this at 15. So we select a bolder font like this. This will come over here. So you use your up and down arrow to arrange it. Then go over to this particular part where it says size and style, and make sure you turn off the background. So this is what we now have over here right now. Can you see it? So this is not looking quite okay, but we just have to start with this and make sure we have something like this. The next thing we have to do right now is to quickly create the background, that we can actually change over time and make sure we get what we want. So we're going to follow what we have actually drafted on the which is the rough work or the sketching we have to get this done. It's very simple. So let's do it inside PowerPoint. Now we have this here. Highlight and actually take this off. Then we have this blank. So go over here and pick this and drag it, into here. The next thing is for we to be on the same page by clicking over this particular shape format. Then for the height, we're going to be doing 0.7, something like this. Then keep it somewhere around here and drag it until you get to the end here. Can you see this right now? So once you have this now, we need like 3 different cards for KPI, I think almost 4. But what we're going to do right now is to just get this particular card here and keep it right here. So we have to take the height and the weight as well. So for this particular height here, we do 1.3. And over here, we're just going to do 2.84. So we have something like this. We just have to make sure the rounded corner is not really much, just a little bit. Then I'm going to keep it somewhere around here. Then the next thing now is for me to actually, format this one the way it will look very okay on my dashboard. So right click and go over to this particular shape format here. Then we just have to go over here and make sure we use white. But if you do it this way, it's not making any sense at all because we actually have a white background. So what do? We change the background to a different color like this. So now this looks better. So let us click on this card here and go over to the line. So from the line, we now choose the same thing, which is this very one. So we can go again and choose the second one, which is this particular one here. Now we have something like this. So once we have gotten this now, the next thing we have to do is to click and duplicate it by Ctrl D. Then just make sure you have this amount of space in it. And this is what you have. If you're very much okay with this, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this one and keep it somewhere around here. So I don't want to have this rounded corner on part of this one. I just have to make sure I bring it over here. This particular space should be equal to this. How would you know? When you actually start dragging, you now have this particular vertical line, then you release, right? So we're just going to drag this one down to this particular end here. So we have something like this. I can just come over here and move this inside a bit. So once I've done this now, the spacing between here and here is no more equal. To make it equal now, you just hold your control key and select all of them. Then you come over to shape format, you go at a line and you distribute horizontally. Then distribute horizontally over here. So now you have something like this. So we are almost there, but not very much there. So what else do we need? We need these two cards here. So it's very important. So all you need to do is just to get this particular card, or still, we can duplicate this very one. Ctrl D to duplicate, bring this over here. So make sure we maintain the same thing here. Then bring this down. So we want to create a space like this. Then we just extend this over here. Then we'll Ctrl D to actually bring this in. So we keep this over to this particular path. So do you not see what we have now? So the next thing we have to fix here is that we don't want the outline on those three cards. We just say no line to it. And we have something like this. We only want the line to be here. So it is time for me to change the color we have right here. So if you have been following my videos before now, you would have known the site I use to get my colors mixed. That is going to be adobe.color. So I have gotten my color already. So let's go ahead and see how we can mix it. So on my project, those are the three colors I'm going to use, those colors here. So I'm going to go with this particular one. So if I click over here right now, I can just go ahead and click on this and get the color code from here, right? So I'm going to show you the color code as well. So let's just click over here. We already have it here. We just go ahead and paste it right in here. Okay. In case you don't have the hex code in your own version of PowerPoint, just go ahead and use the RGB, which is the red for 50, green for 73, and 107 for blue. You're going to have the same exact color I have right here. Otherwise, you can use the hex code right on my screen. So let's go ahead and click on OK. We have this. So now we have an outline. Click back on it and go over to here and say no line to it. This is what we need right here, right? So I'm just going to come over here now and drag this in. Then I'm going to type in home. Then I put a slash. So we are doing for revenue right in here. So all I need right now is just having a space between them. So here we go. So once done, we just can go ahead and text option, we change the color to this. So we can just increase it a little bit to show up very well. So I can keep this somewhere around here. So if you have a logo, your logo should be at this particular side. But if you don't have logo, this can actually work. Can you see this now? Okay. So later, after all, we're going to make this dynamic when we start having, some kind of more pages. But right now, we just have to deal with a single page report, not multiple pages. So we have something like this from here right away. So let's go straight to Power BI and see how we can use this. But before then, what we need to do is to make sure we export this out of here. To do that now, go over to File, Export, and choose this. Then we go over to PNG or JPEG, whichever one you want to use. Let's go to JPEG here. So save it, just this one. So now we're back to Power BI environment. The next thing we have to do is to make sure we do not select any single object right from here. Just go ahead and click on this canvas and make sure you return this to 0%. Click over here. And now we pick this. So this is what we have almost in it. Just use your up and down arrow to work on this. So we have something like this right here. So this is looking better, but not very much because we have to fix things around here. So for the very first time, I'm just going to go over to the size and style and make sure what I do is just go ahead and turn off the background from here. So that is done for me, but not quite well. The next thing I have to do is to make sure I still click on it now and go over to this particular reference label. No, I think it's under my card here. Under card is just going down and turn off the border, turn off the background color. Does this solve the problem again? A little bit. So what else can we do? This particular gray color we have right here, we want to actually have it turned off. So make sure you select it. And this time around, you go over to this particular reference label, you return this one back to all. Then once you have done that, you scroll all the way down. Now you can now see this particular background, and as well, if you want to turn off the divider. So for the divider here, I want to leave it. So what I'm going to do is just make sure I just step into it and play around with this particular transparency part right here, not to make it show so well, right? So I can keep it somewhere around 50%. This is great. So if I step off it right now, this is what I have. Okay, nicely done. The next thing we have to do is to make sure we show some kind of color formatting right here. So which is conditional formatting. I'm going to take this up a little bit with my up arrow. Okay, something like this. Then this one here can be shifted. Now to write the conditional formatting right now is very simple and easy. All you have to do is to right click over here and write a new measure. So there is something we should do. Because we cannot reference this particular month over month change again, it's now a text. What we can do, let's cancel away from here. The reason why we are doing this now is that this particular month over month change has utilized the arrow, the plus, and it's now a text. So if we reference it to not give us what we want, we can just copy this particular part of this code here. So with Ctrl C, let's do right click here, and now new measure. So if I paste this one over here now, just go above it and type in here CF for conditional formatting. So we put gross revenue. So now here we go. So I can come over here now below it. So I'm gonna do this first. Highlight your tab key. Now below here now, what I'm gonna do is to return. Under return, what I need to do is to use the if function. Under the if function, I'm going to actually ask if underscore month over month change is greater than 0, then I want you to give me 0 here. I want you to give me 1, otherwise give me 0. So I can definitely show codes or a particular number of formatting code right here, but I don't want that because I want to have control over the kind of green and red I want to use. So optional though, if you want to actually show number code here, you can do that, or hex code, whatever. So just go ahead and hit your enter key. So now we have gotten that, we can just click over this particular one here and go straight up to this particular part. Then the next thing we do is just to go under the rules and click on this particular DAX room. We still have little DAX, so we don't have to search. So just go over to the CF right here. So and add a new one. Over here, you just have to put equals and equals right here. So we put 1, and over here we put just 0. So make sure what you have here is number, otherwise it wouldn't work. If it's percentage, you might have issues. So where we have 1, we want to select a particular green color. So we come over here and choose the kind of green we want to actually show. So let's go with something like this particular part here. So you have the flexibility to change or the color, environment you want to actually select. So once done, we go over here now, we choose this particular red. If you're not satisfied with this particular red color you choose now, you go into this one and over here you select. Should you're not actually satisfied with the red color here, step into it, colors here, and choose different variation. Can you see now? So you can go over to click on OK. So now here you go. This is what you have. So when I actually start going through this now, when I go to where we have it to be some kind of, good for the current month, this is what you have. You don't have plus 5.4% and the arrow is pointing up. This is what we want to see. We have just actually completed this particular part and we have our values showed up the way it should be. The KPI is good. So the next thing we have to do is to make sure we create a flipping part of it. So what are we showing on the flipping part of it? It's exactly what you have seen on the sketching part, right? So on the sketching part, what we said we want to show on the flipping part of it is just to show what is actually the changes between this. what we are seeing here is based on percentage, right? So on the flipping side right now, we are trying to show something different other than just showing the percentage changes. So which means when we come over here right now, we want to see the difference in values, and as well, we want to show if it is up or down. Can you see that right now? So to get that done now, quickly come over to insert here, go over to this particular button here and click on this particular arrow pointing to the right and get it and keep it somewhere around here. Make it smaller. Adjust the arrow not to show so big. Then keep it somewhere you are going to feel okay with it. Right? So use your up and down arrow on your keyboard to actually adjust things the way it should be. Right? I'm not cool with this one. Can bring it down. Bring it over here. So the color here, I don't like it. So click over it to adjust it by coming over to the button style. Then under the default, we just go over to this particular icon. Then we select this one. Let us go with this. Let's go with this one. Okay. We still go back again. Keep changing it until you have your desired color. So I want something as calm as this. Then the next thing is this. If I hover over it, I want it to change color. So I select again. So instead of us to see default, we want to go on hover. So scroll down and over here, we choose to see a lighter blue like this. So we hover, we have something like this. Can you see now? So just have to, do this. All right. Once we have done this now, the next thing we have to do is to go back to PowerPoint and get a card created from PowerPoint. I'm thinking, is that really necessary? No, that is not. Let us use a card from here because we want to actually add a conditional format into our card. Then we go over here now, we choose this particular shapes and we go with this particular one that has rounded corner on it. So once we've gotten this now, here we go. We can actually make sure it sits right over here. And you adjust it until it covers up this environment here. So the rounded corner is pretty much, what we can do is to click on it and go over to shape style and start reducing it right here. So let's go with 14. This looks quite okay, but not too much. So we just have to make sure this is within this range. So we have to affect our rounded corner a bit. Let us go with 10%. Okay, I think this is what we want, right? So for the very first time, I want to make sure I change this to a different color. Let's take off the border and over here, we can choose this color. Any color of our choice, we can just choose this color. So the color here doesn't really matter because our color is going to be depending on what kind of value we actually have. So for the time being, this can be here. So what do we want? I can move it anywhere I like. Let us keep it over here and have it developed first. Okay, what do we want to happen to this now? So on this particular card, we're going to be creating a particular, measure. Right click over here. We click on this and say new measure. Then over here, I'm going to do gross revenue flip card, right? So just give it any random name you feel like you're cool with. So the very first thing I need to do is to write a variable here. And in this variable, I'm going to store in my gross revenue, which is a simple measure called my gross revenue here. And aside that, we create another variable again. We store in here our last month, just last month gross revenue. So with an equal sign here, we just do last month gross revenue. And aside this again, what we need to do is to create another variable again. This variable is going to show what I call variance. So variance with our equal sign here, we actually take our gross revenue and we subtract our last month gross revenue from it. You get it now? So I always love to actually do a number formatting, which is something very simple. So let's come over here now and do that particular number formatting here. So we do another variable. So we call it format. So with our equal sign, we use the format function. We now bring in our variance into it. And this time around, we put a comma. We're just going to do a $, hash, comma, hash, hash. Then you close and have this closed. So once we are done now, under the return area, so what we need to do here now is I'll be using the if function. So we actually say if the gross revenue here, if the gross revenue here is greater than the last month here, what we need to do is to actually show, a plus. That is positive growth, a plus, and we use another ampersand here now. So if we want to show, if we want to actually show the up and down arrow right on it, is something very simple and easy. What you need to do is to create another variable above here. So you can just name it a simple name like up. So for the up now, we are going to use and we go over here and copy just once and make a change to it. So this is the up one. So we paste it in, we close, and here we do variable again, down. So we turn this one to 9, so we close. So if that is the case now, what we want to show is gonna be, first of all, let's do underscore up. Then ampersand. Inside here, we concatenate the plus we're looking forward to getting into it. And once we are done again, we do under ampersand again. We now actually add the formatted one. Can you see now? Very simple, right? So put a comma on it. And next again now, we just do underscore down. So the down one, we don't need to actually add a minus to it because negative value always comes with minus 20, 30, 40, whatever it is. And over here, we just do underscore format. So once done, we close this and we hit our enter key. This will give us what we want. So let us take a look at what this value will give to us inside the card. So it's going to give us something like this. Can you see it now? So to me, adding this arrow here is not really important. I can actually wipe this arrow off because it's not really helping matter. But if you think you want to add it, you can actually do that. I've shown you how to do it. So I can get off this particular arrow from here. Get off the arrow from this particular part. And there is no point in me keeping this ampersand again for concatenation. So once done, you don't need to keep it over here for overload. So you now have something very simple, but you have known how to get it done in case you want to actually have the arrow. Go ahead and hit the enter key. So let us take a look at what we have done. Now we have something as simple as this. The next thing we have to do right now is to actually do a little formatting to it. So we take off and over here, we just put this at 20. Let's see what we have at 20. I think 20 looks a little bit smaller, compared to what we want to show. So let's just increase this to 35. So quite okay. So we can just go ahead and make it a bit, something like this. Then we come over here and turn off the background away from it. So we just keep this right here. So once this is right here now, the next thing we want to show now is going to be we're going over to the title, which is this one. So we show our title as well. So the title here, let's go with 25. I think 20 will be okay. So we take off this one. Just make it this way. So we'll keep it over here. So we have one more thing to go. We want to show the arrow we've just taken off. We want to show the arrow right now on a particular, commentary. I don't know if that will be cool for you. So it depends on what you really want. The next thing we have to do right now is to right click and create a new measure. So here I think before we have title. So now we're going to have title GR2, gross revenue 2. Okay. To make it easy now, we're going to create a variable here. And inside this particular variable, we want to name it month over month change. So with the simple divide function, it's very simple. We should have copied this one away from somewhere. So we have done it before. So we subtract the last month revenue from it. And finally, we divide by this. So we close this. And now to get what we want from here, we do return. So what we're going to do right now is to actually say, okay, if underscore month over month change here is greater than 0, then what we want to show is going to be went up. So went up. This here, we want to show an arrow. Your Windows key, your full stop will give you these icons. Let's go over here and look at where we have this arrow pointing up. So this is the up arrow here. So where's the down arrow? The one that's reflect down. So we have that one for up. So we have the down row located here. So we've gotten them right now. So what we need to do now is just to Ctrl X to cut this away from here. So the revenue went up, then we put by, then we close this right here. Then the next thing we go down, and if that is actually false, we want to say inside double quotes, went up, or went down rather. So we paste this in here. So we put our by, and we go ahead and close this. So we now have all we need to actually, work with. The next thing we have to do right now is to come over here and get the second title here. So I'm going to pick this one, Ctrl C, Ctrl V to just get it pasted. So keep it around here, remove this and bring this one in. Let us step into this particular place and turn this into 16. Okay. I think this is not bad, but we can do better than this. So let's go ahead and do just 18. Okay, quite okay. I'm going to put it on italic. Your choice. If you don't want this, you can do it anyhow you like. So something like this would be quite, okay for me. So once I've done this now, I can just make sure I move this up a little bit. Just like this, right? And the next thing I'm going to do right now is to bring this particular one here, Ctrl C, Ctrl V to paste it down and keep it somewhere around here. And if you look at it right now, it's not, I think there is no point in keeping this one here. We can just leave it. All we need to show is just the, value number like this, not the percentage. So we now have this. The next thing we have to do is to create a conditional formatting for this. That's change the card as, that is what we want, not the values. The card is what we want to actually change right now. So let's go over to, I think it's this one here. And we're going to copy just this particular part from here. I hope you remember this one. Ctrl C to copy. And over here, you right click, you create a new measure. So I'm going to paste this one over here now. Then above it here, I'm going to do CF flip card here. So my equals. So we've gotten these two variables here. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is to go under here and do return. Under return, I want to do if underscore gross revenue is greater than the last month revenue here. Then we want to see 1, otherwise give me 0, so I can have control over the color I really want to use. So now we have gotten this done. Just click on the card itself, on the card now. Let's step into here, and under the fill here, we step into it and we click over this path. So we can now come over to this particular one and select the rules and come over here and go for CF. We choose the one with the flip card, and over here we put an equals. We add a new one. We put an equals as well. So over here we're going to have 0 or 1 rather, and we have 0 here. So under this particular part where we have 1 right in, we want to select a green color, like from here. Select any green of your choice right here. So maybe I want to type in this color code, like it's going to be B, EEC, and we use BD here. This is the kind of green we want to actually use. So once done now, we step off it. For the red color, let's go with this. And let us see what we have done here. Okay, we now have this kind of green on our card. Let's see where we have it, some kind of negative. Can you now see? We now have something like this. If you don't like this kind of red and you want your red to be a bit calm than what you have right in here, you can step back into this particular part, choose the red color, go to more colors, and let us look for a lighter version of the red from this angle. So let us try to see what this gives us. Okay, not too bad, but I think the previous one would look much more interesting to be used to write than this. But still, let us try this one here and see what it gives us. Okay, I think this one looks quite okay. Let's go with this. I'm going to tell you first thing that we are just done getting this created right now. The next thing we have to do, I'm going to go ahead and just do this. It will be in the middle of it. Stretch this and stretch this to cover up here. So that is June gross revenue went down by, this is the value right here. So the next thing you need to do is just to make sure, I think we want to go over to this one. Click over here. So let us go with 30 and see what we have on 30. Okay, 30 looks quite okay for me. So I'm just going to make sure I move my 30 to the side, right? So now we get this very arrow here, duplicated, Ctrl C, Ctrl V to paste. So we now bring this over here. You can increase it a little bit to make it a bit bigger than what you have on the main card. Okay, I think something like this can still work for me. So we'll keep this over here. So when I hover over this now, we don't necessarily need to change the color. We come over here. We actually, for the hover state, we choose white color. We don't need to actually, even use any hover state. So for the default now, we want to go for a white color for the default. So we just have this, right? So once I've gotten this now, what next do we need to do? I can come over to insert and I'm going to grab this particular button and click on this particular blank here. So we bring this and cover up this particular path. Cover it up to this end. So as you can see, we have an outline on it. The next thing you do is to click over here and be on the default and take off the border part of it. It's gone. We now have something like this. The next thing I do is just to make sure I highlight and right click, then group it together. So once grouped, we can go over to this particular selection. So under selection here, we click on this. We just do gross revenue card, right? That is what you need to do. That is all. So the next thing now is just to come over here. This one now, I want to go ahead and insert a new button here, which is blank one. So quickly click on this one and go over to format and click on bring to front. We want to be at the front. So we now come over here now and choose to get this particular card to cover up everywhere around here, so that if somebody targets this particular card, this particular arrow here, and the person could not click on it, and the person jumps off it and still click over here, we want the effect to be, on. So we just want to go over to here now. So on this particular button part here, we scroll down until we see this border. So we turn the border off. So we have something like this. So when we still hover here, it's still some kind of active, giving us the on hover, effect, because we already have pushed it to the front, right? So we now have something like this. So how do we make sense with this? The next thing we're going to do right now is to just come over here and keep this right here to cover up everywhere. But if you look at it, something weird happened. That arrow is coming to the top. Click on this particular card, go over to formats and click over this particular, bring to front here and bring to front. It will send that particular little arrow backward, right? This is what we have. So right now we can click on this one and we go over to this and we open up bookmark again. So we now have gross revenue here. So the state where we are now is showing it up. So you can now add a new one. Double click over here. So you can just say show gross card. Hit enter key. So if you don't want this particular action to affect any other visuals you will have inside this particular dashboard, go over to three dots and make sure you actually disallow the all visuals right here. Automatically, once you do that, it's going to actually put the effect on this particular selected visual alone. Then click on update. So once done, go ahead and hide it, right? Then click over here, double click on it, and just type in here, hide gross card. Then the same thing we have done previously, this, and update. Watch what happens. Oh, I think I flopped somewhere. I should have shown you that. That is a very silly mistake of mine. So what I'm going to do right now is to click over this particular one and make sure this card is selected when the action is going to be, taken in record. So once you have done this selected right now, turn this on. It's now on. Go ahead and click over here and update it. Then click on this particular one now. So it's still on. Go ahead and turn this off and make sure this one is selected. Can you see? It's on selection right now. So once that is done, click over here and update it. So now let us see what happens. Okay, it seems not to work. Just go ahead and actually, delete. Go ahead and delete here. So we have to do it from the scratch. We're going to turn it on. Now it is on. Select the card, which is the gross revenue card, and add a new one. Double click over here. We just add to say show gross card. So hit your enter key and make sure this one is selected. Go ahead and actually do this and update. Then hide it and make sure this one is selected. Click over here, double click to edit the content inside it and do hide gross card. Then go ahead and click on the three dots to update. Now this is working 100%. We can have those particular two here hidden. And the next thing we do right now is that we want to hide it. When we want to hide it right now, we can click anywhere in the card to actually hide it. So what you can do now is to just click and double click, just click twice. It will activate that particular blank, this thing you actually inserted, this particular blank button you inserted for you. Then once the blank button is in some kind of active, you will see this particular action right here. Go ahead and turn the action on and come over here, scroll all the way down, click over here, bookmark, and over here you select this particular hide, right? So what happens if I just go ahead and click on it? It has been hidden. Make sure you hold your control key because we are in the developed area. So when developing it, you don't just click, you hold your control key to click it. If you are now in Power BI service, you can just click without holding your control keys. Okay, now over here, I can put the action on this one. Click over here and we just go over to this particular bookmark. So we now select show. So I'm going to apply the same thing to this particular little button here, the arrow here. And we do the same bookmark again. We select the show one. So watch what happens if I even aim at this little one here. It flips the card for me and I have something like this. So can you see how easy this looks right now? This might look a little bit epic, like a long video, but it gives us something very insightful that can actually go into our next project. So if this one here gives you what you want, these two other cards here will be very easy for you to create. This is what it is. So let's say I select a positive area like this July here. So, and we just try to show the flip card. We're going to see something like this. So the next thing we have to do is to adjust this and make sure it covers up this particular white area. Click on it and just push it a little bit until you have it covered up very well. This will give you exactly what you want. So watch what happens.